Lately, I've been thinking a lot about certainty. And I think certainty is really sexy. Like, it's a really attractive thing that we experience in our lives. And that's because the human experience is inherently uncertain. You don't know what's going to happen when you walk out of your door this morning. You don't know what happens when you die. You don't know what the purpose of your life is. And anything that comes across that feels really certain is going to feel really attractive. We're going to beam straight towards it because human life is so uncertain that it's very uncomfortable. It's uneasy. It causes fear and anxiety, and it's kind of an unpleasant place to sit. So we love certainty. But certainty also keeps us really stuck, and certainty is also something that manipulative and problematic people will use to reel you in. So let's jump into it. Hi, I'm Kim. I'm a transformational coach, hypnotherapist, and doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. I help people navigate major life changes, chronic illness and pain, and coercive control and cultic abuse recovery. I also spent 8 years in a New Age spiritual cult, and so these types of problematic spiritual practices and characteristics of problematic people are something that I've known very well and have a very strong passion about sharing this type of awareness so that you don't end up in these types of situations yourself. So, how does certainty keep us stuck? I love to think of worrying and overthinking also as flavors of certainty. So when I am worried about something, right, I'm worried about maybe I had a lab work done and I don't know what the results are going to be. I've had some weird symptoms going on, and I'm going to go down Dr. Google and find out every possible way that this could go wrong, right? This is actually me creating certainty. I'm creating a flavor of certainty by knowing all of these possible outcomes and sort of creating what could possibly be that comes out of this thing that I know nothing about. Because waiting for that test result to come back is me sitting in uncertainty, and that's super uncomfortable. So we worry and we overthink to create certainty. We also lean into certainty when we are afraid of making changes in our lives. So this is the thing that's at play when you're in a bad relationship. You're in a bad relationship, it's not working out. Maybe it's totally toxic. Maybe it's not, it's just not working for you. Maybe it's a bad job, right? These things are not working for you, but we drag our feet on leaving because staying is certain. I know exactly what to expect if I stay. I know how each day is going to go. I know what I'm expecting. And while I don't like this at all, it's certain. And our ego adores certainty. The ego is designed to keep you safe. And what it wants to do is keep everything status quo. We want to keep everything the same so that nothing changes and there's nothing uncertain that we have to look at. So our ego is that voice that's going to come in, that's going to go, don't leave that job, you might never get a new one, right? It's that little voice that's going to cause doubt for all of us. That is the voice of the ego, and the ego it's just trying to keep you safe. We don't have to be mad at it. We don't have to try to cast it out or totally squelch it down. We just have to recognize that that's what it's doing. And we have to move past it anyways. So moving forward in this case of uncertainty requires that sort of leap of faith, right? It requires us to go, okay, this is scary. I don't know what's going to happen. Could totally not work out for me, but I'm going to step forward anyways. I'm going to jump in anyways because maybe it does, right? Because this environment right now is definitely not working for me. And that's how certainty can really keep us stuck, right? Because it's going to be the thing that produces doubts. It's going to be the thing that keeps us where we are, and to grow, to change, to be the person you want to be, to create experiences you've never had before, to step into that new life you want to create, we have to face that uncertainty. We have to face that void. We have to look into it, and usually we have to jump. We have to say, okay, I'm just going to step forward and see what happens. We have to face that uncertainty. Now, how do people manipulate uncertainty? What's going on there? I like to call this Mr. Charisma. Mr. Charisma is certain of everything. He has no doubts whatsoever. There is no wavering to his tone. Mr. Charisma knows the solution to your problems. He knows exactly what you need to do. And what he's answering the question of is a very obtuse question. Usually it's, why am I here? What's the purpose of life? What happens when we die? How do I cure my incurable health condition? So we see people pop up in spiritual spaces, religious spaces, and I think also alternative health and wellness spaces, where people either are operating outside of their scope of practice, perhaps they have no training whatsoever, and maybe they're even operating inside of their scope of practice just in a very manipulated way. This is where you end up spending thousands of dollars on lab tests and thousands of dollars on supplements, missing the fact that you were just lactose intolerant, right? These are things to be really aware of, and they're really attractive to us. This is the person who tells you, if you just eat this way and you pray that way and you do these 5 steps, you're going to get off the wheel of karma and you're not going to have to come back here again, right? These people are certain of what's going on answering a question that inherently has no answer. It doesn't have an answer. There is no answer to what happens after you die. We have a lot of ideas, tons of ideas, but we actually don't have an answer because it's not a measurable outcome, right? If I said, this medication has an 80% chance of curing your illness, right? We have a scientific study that proves that. We can say with, a fair amount of certainty, that's legitimate certainty, that taking this medicine will have an 80% chance of curing your illness. Because we can study that. So in these realms of these esoteric questions or really confusing health problems, people are really taking advantage of this space. They're taking advantage of your need for certainty around something that is inherently uncertain. And this isn't to say that some of these people aren't helping people, right? Every once in a while that happens, but it's something to be really mindful about. It's something to really watch out for and keep our awareness up about. And that's where we move into, what do we do about this desire for certainty that kind of will never be quelched? I recommend to everybody that we need to start seeing certainty as a red flag. And this is particularly the certainty in the realm of questions that can't be studied and can't be answered, right? There's no way we know for sure what happens when you die. So somebody comes around being certain about what happens when you die, red flag. Somebody comes around being certain about the effect that exercise has for your cardiovascular system, not a red flag, because we actually have studies on that. We can actually measure that outcome. So when it's a question that has no answer and somebody is certain about it, we want to red flag. Also, people who are certain about things that seem too good to be true, always a red flag, right? And that's where we're going to find in a lot of these alternative health and wellness spaces, people telling you this diet is the diet that works, blah, 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 this supplement, whatever it is, you need these lab tests. We want to red flag those because they're really gross generalizations. Healthcare is a very personal process. Anybody who's saying that their thing can cure all of the things is somebody we want to red flag. Anybody with no qualifications, also red flag. Anyone operating out of their scope of practice, red flag, right? We have lots of chiropractors, acupuncturists, nurses calling themselves functional medicine doctors. That's not a degree. So we want to red flag some of these things. So we red flag it, right? Now what do we do? Now we're training ourselves to recognize that as a reason to pause and to check in with ourselves. I go, okay, this person, I've been really tired all the time. This person says that this diet's going to work for me. And that feels so exciting because that's the thing I've been waiting for, right? I've been so miserable. I really want to cure this problem. I want to feel better. I want to feel like myself again. Nothing wrong with that. This person says they have the way. But you've been through all of the doctors. Nobody's had the way yet. So we're dealing with an obtuse answer here. We red flag that and we tune in. Like, how am I feeling right now? Am I feeling regulated while making this decision to sign up for this person's $1,400 program? No. I feel like my heart beating super fast and I'm like so fucking excited about it, right? It feels good to be in that state, but that's not a regulated state. So we want to make decisions about whether we're following these people, what pieces we're going to listen to, whether we sign up with them or not. We want to make those out of that regulated system state. We want to go back to that stop on a dime technique where we notice we have to make a decision, we notice what's going on in our space, and we stop. We don't do anything. We regulate our system. We do that deep breathing, watching your belly rise and fall until your system settles down. And sometimes that's going to take a couple of days, right? This is not necessarily an instant process. We're going to take our time. We're going to settle it in. One of the things that I tell myself is like, if this is supposed to happen, right? Because a lot of people will sell you things based off of that feeling of excitement about it, right? It's like, oh, you have to sign up now because I'm closing registrations, blah, blah, blah. So you have this air of urgency, right? I have to do this now. I have no time to think about it because they're gonna like not let me in. I always tell myself, like, in those situations, like, if this is really meant to be for me, it's gonna happen in my time, not their time, mine. So I'm going to take the time to regulate myself. I'm going to take the time to maybe look into this person. I'm going to pause and then move forward with that regulated space. And in the meantime, I've also, we're starting to create that habit of flagging certainty as that red flag. Anybody who's like, this works for everyone, I've cured so many people, X, Y, and Z, like this is the way, the only way, etc. Like all or nothing, black and white language is an air of certainty that we really want to watch out for. People who are operating ethically are usually going to have some flare of ambiguity to their messaging. It's going to be, this worked for me, this works for my clients, it might work for you too. And that's not super sexy. It's not something we want to hear because it's not the certainty that we inherently crave. So next time somebody comes along feeling certain, maybe even this whole video, this whole message, take your time with it. Give yourself a chance to settle your nervous system. Take some deep breaths, settle in, rewatch it, go back, check me out, whatever you need to do to internalize the message that works for you, not the one that your nervous system is like activated about, because we get activated about certainty. And if you're looking for help with learning new tools and developing resiliency and capability to actually do these processes, you can click my link and sign up for a free discovery call where we can chat about how we might work together. We'll do a little shadow work session, and I promise that I won't put a time limit on when you need to sign up for coaching with me.